Hello and welcome to TUC Half Hour. I'm Festus Osifo, and today we will be recapping key discussions from the 2024 PENGASSAN Energy and Labour Summit as shared in the recent communiqué by PENGASSAN and TUC President Comrade Festus Osifo. In this episode, we will focus on energy security, energy mix, artificial intelligence, and the ongoing threat of crude oil theft. This episode will also explore key recommendations that were made at the summit to better position Nigeria's oil and gas industry for the future. Recommendations in areas like CNG, petroleum transportation, amongst others. TUC Half Hour will continue right after this break.
Communique issued at the end of the third edition of a Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Star Association of Nigeria PENGASSAN Energy and Labour Summit held from August 21st to 23rd, 2024 at the at the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. Gas has long been identified as Nigeria's transition fuel, and this decade has been declared as a decade of gas. The summit examined the Nigeria Gas Master Plan, its successes and challenges. One of the factors that has greatly threatened the survival of oil and gas industry in Nigeria is crude oil theft. This existential threat must be resolved to ensure that the oil and gas industry remain a going concern. Some of the sub-themes that we examined during the summit are highlighted below, with various recommendations for the implementation of government, regulators, oil and gas companies, and other stakeholders in the Nigeria oil and gas industry. Energy security, number one. Energy security is cardinal for the survival of any nation, and Nigeria is not an exception. Hence, the citizens of Nigeria constantly demand energy affordability, accessibility, and availability. Despite the various macroeconomic challenges bedeviling Nigeria's capacity to tap its enormous energy resources, the summit examined the few strides that have been made and profiled some solutions to the identified challenges. In broad terms, the summit identified areas of continuous effort to enhance energy security, including infrastructure upgrade and expansion, digitization and technology adoption, stakeholder engagement, community development, and capacity building, amongst others. Recommendations. Specific recommendations were adopted at the end of the summit regarding energy security. Number one, local production of petroleum products. Ramping up efforts to make the nation's four refinery work. Once operational, the government should divest majority shareholding and own at most 49% of the shareholding in the four refineries. Core investors should be brought in to take the 51% as applicable in NLNG. If you could recall, over the years, PENGASSAN as an association has been at the forefront of championing the fact that the national refinery should be modeled after the Nigeria liquefied natural gas systems. You know, if you remember very well, the NLNG is run by public-private partnership in such a way that the IOCs own about 51% of the shareholding in NLNG. So we want, after these refineries are fixed, after the refineries are working, government should divest 51% of the shares to private shareholding. So we are reiterating this call. This was a call that we started over 10 years ago, and the summit still found it worthy to keep pushing in this direction. Then, the federal government should increase its shareholding stake in Dangote refinery from the current 7% to at least 45%. This will ensure further energy assurance and security to its citizens. B. Creation of strategic petroleum product reserves. Government should partner with players in the private sector to maintain the already available petroleum product storages in the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. When operational, petroleum products will be stored there and only made available when there is a shortage in supply. This will help in eliminating the bad roads and severe erosion-imposed perennial shortages that often lead to queues at the petrol stations across the country. So, one of the challenges that we have faced in the oil and gas industry, most especially in the downstream section of the oil and gas industry, is the fact that whenever there are issues relating to bad roads, whenever you have erosions, if you could remember, when there was erosion somewhere around, or flooding, when there was massive flooding somewhere around Lokoja, last year and a year after last, because of some of the dams that were released, if you could remember, up north, we didn't have petroleum products for over a week or two. So that brought a lot of hardship to the people of Nigeria. So what the summit has said is that we have depots that are cut across the nook and crannies of Nigeria. They are spread across the 6 geopolitical zones. If you go to Kaduna, you have a depot there. If you go to Suleja, you have a depot there. In the northeast, you have depots all over. But most of these depots are moribund. There are no products in them. Most of these depots are not functional. So what the summit has also adopted is that government should get these depots fixed by partnering with private sector owners, because it is not sustainable that you only feed the central Nigeria and northern Nigeria from Lagos, from Port Harcourt, and from Calabar. But if you have these depots, if they are all working, we could keep what we could refer to as a strategic reserves in these depots, so that whenever you have fluctuations in down south, you could bring in these strategic reserves in these depots, and that will minimize the perennial queues and shortages that we often have. Expansion of pipelines that could be used in the delivery of refined products across the length and breadth of the country, as this will reduce pressure put on the roads by trucks carrying these products. In all developed world, you don't use trucks to supply petroleum products for as far as 400, 500, 600 kilometers or even much more. It is not done. What is normally done is the use of pipeline. But today, most of our pipelines, they are practically not working. Most of our pipelines, they were developed several years ago, some 30, 40, 50 years. So they are at the decaying stage. So what the summit has adopted is that government should partner as well with private sectors to ensure that most of these pipelines are fixed, so that instead of using trucks to carry a product from Lagos to Kano, from Lagos to Sokoto, that could put pressure on our roads, the pipeline should be rehabilitated so that our products could easily move from Lagos, from Calabar, from Delta, from Port Harcourt to places like Yola, places like Damaturu, etc. D, provision of CNG infrastructure across the country. Compressed natural gas has been adjudged to be the most affordable and cleaner form of energy that is required to propel a country, to propel a car in the country today. Sadly, the infrastructure for this product is sparsely distributed across the country. Government, through its partners, should deepen the reach of these infrastructures across every city in Nigeria. Then E, the summit also adopted that to achieve energy security, energy must be affordable. To ensure affordability, the government must do all it can to stabilize the exchange rate, as the continuous slide of Naira will greatly hamper the affordability of energy in Nigeria. So the summit adopted that government should do everything possible to stabilize the exchange rate. Summarily, and to put it succinctly, the summit called on the federal government to develop and strengthen the country oil and gas value chain to ensure a more efficient and reliable distribution system in the downstream. Without such a system, the country will continue to face recurring fuel shortages, as its reliance on truck-based distribution is deficient and inadequate to meet the demands of Nigerians, given its vulnerability and disruptions due to bad roads, flooding, and ad hoc logistics arrangements. Number 2, energy mix. Energy mix describes the relative contributions of different energy sources to the energy ecosystem within a particular location. Energy mix is much more important in this era when there is a huge clamor for climate change and greener energy. The dynamics of Nigeria's energy demand require a multifaceted approach with a diversified energy mix of all available sources of energy to ensure robust energy security. The summit emphasized the need to strike the right balance between harnessing our vast hydrocarbon resources and embracing renewable energy as a pathway for enhancing Nigeria's energy security. Nigeria currently depends mainly on fossil fuel as its primary energy sources. As the world transitions to greener energy, the implementation of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan was examined. The summit concluded that nothing much more has been done to enhance Nigeria's energy mix. This becomes imperative as global financing of fossil fuel-related energy becomes challenging. Recommendations. The summit therefore recommends the following. A, the government should give more incentives to attract the international oil and gas companies and the indigenous oil and gas producers to invest in more crude oil production in the next 5 years. 50% of the accruable revenue should be dedicated to investing in renewable energy like solar, battery, wind, hydro, hydrogen, etc. Then B, most IOCs are currently involved in developing greener energy strategies and businesses across the globe. Nigeria's government must partner with them on how they could accelerate and deepen this in Nigeria market. Today, Chevron, ExxonMobil, Total Energies, Shell, they are all investing across the globe in renewable and greener energy. So Nigeria government must partner with them on how this could be brought and localized here in Nigeria. C, Nigeria government must urgently develop a practical and implementable energy mix policy. This will set the policy direction and become the basis for negotiation with institutions and stakeholders who intend to invest in different energy sources. Number 3, crude oil theft. Just before COVID-19 struck, Nigeria was producing about 2.2 million barrels of crude oil per day. This fetched enormous resources to the government and provided some level of job guarantees for our members. Over the years, there has been crude oil theft in the Nigeria oil and gas industry, but this has been heightened since 2020, 2021 till date. This menace has eaten deep into the national crude oil production that saw its abysmal all-time low-level production to sub 700,000 barrels per day in 2022. The recommendations from the summit. The summit identified the menace of crude oil theft as a major threat to energy security and the nation's economy. At the end of the summit, we offer the following solutions to the federal government, oil and gas producing companies, security agencies, and other stakeholders in the industry. A, application of technology in curbing crude oil theft by developing AI-powered surveillance systems like drone and satellite imaging, predictive analytic instruments, automated threat detection equipment, smart sensor facial and object recognition, machine learning for vessel identification, blockchain integration technology, and supply chain optimization. The application of a combination of these will help in reporting crude oil theft in real time for quick intervention. A multifaceted world standard control and situation room should be developed for urgent intervention. A more detailed scope of this will be made available for any interested stakeholders. B, the summit also called on federal government to re-engineer its security architecture, beef up security, and take over the responsibility of securing oil and gas installations from investors by providing naval security vessels to man oil and gas infrastructures across the Nigeria oil and gas industry. This will greatly reduce the high cost of production. C, the summit further posited that those caught for crude oil theft should be prosecuted by a court of competent jurisdiction and punished severely to serve as deterrence to others. D, the government must quickly see to the implementation of the provision for the host community in the Petroleum Industry Act. This will create a sense of ownership for the host community, thereby triggering the need to protect the pipeline or at worst act as a whistleblower. The Nigeria Gas Master Plan, NGMP. Nigeria Gas Master Plan was conceived to fully exploit gas for accelerated economic development in pursuit of the 10% GDP growth aspiration and to competitively position Nigeria gas in terms of cost competitiveness and scalability to capacity. It is no longer news that gas is the present and future of energy in the world. Among other things, it fits perfectly into the global sustainable energy plan. Global gas resources is enough to provide world energy for 2 centuries. It is a key driver of Nigeria's economic growth because of its role in power generation and as a feedstock in petrochemical business. Some of the successes of the Nigeria Gas Master Plan as espoused in the summit include increased awareness of gas, as there is somewhat a general acceptance of gas in Nigeria and rapidly growing domestic gas consumption. The development of a bankable gas commercial framework. Gas infrastructure blueprint has since been approved by the regulators. But it is still a very long way to go with actualizing the Nigeria Gas Master Plan to its full potential. We need to devise a means of removing the challenges and implementing the remaining part of the plan as quickly as possible if we must have the enriching gain from the Nigeria Gas Master Plan. Recommendations. The ultimate focus must be to have gas available to all corners of the country for improved GDP and export at minimal cost. The summit is adopting the following recommendations. A, government, through the industry regulators, should ensure full implementation of the Gas Transportation Network Code and ensure reliable operations and maintenance of existing gas infrastructures. Government should ensure the ease of doing business by reducing bureaucracies or complex regulations that make gas investment unattractive to investors. C, federal government should incentivize investment in compressed natural gas, CNG production, processing and distribution. This will go a long way in reassuring the citizens that the decade of gas and the Nigeria Gas Master Plan, often mounted, are not mere talk, but a transformative energy source that will greatly benefit the citizens by offering energy alternatives at a reduced cost. 5, divestment by international oil companies. The summit noted that the recent trend of divestment by the international oil and gas companies necessitated a strategic shift to accommodate local empowerment, innovation, and harnessing potentials and latent talent, adding that the divestment trend was driven by the combination of global energy transition goal, financial prudence, portfolio rationalization, and evolving regulatory environment. The summit cautioned that divestment presents both risks and opportunities for Nigeria, including a reduction in foreign direct investment, technical expertise, and a potential dip in production level. Despite the benefit of divestment, the summit identified its economic, environmental, and climate change consequences, plus the attendant job losses, and all trade unions to negotiate protective measures during divestment. Recommendations. At the end of the summit, the following recommendations were adopted. A comprehensive divestment framework under the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, to guide asset divestment by licensee and lessees in the Nigeria upstream petroleum sector should be adhered to strictly and implemented. Then B, pending when the PIA Act is amended to include the divestment framework, the current framework promulgated by NUPROC must be gazetted for full implementation. C, a job protection system should be developed by the government in order to ensure that Nigerians do not lose their job post-divestment. D, an MOU must be signed between the divesting companies and the trade unions to protect member jobs and enhance its welfare. Number 6, application of artificial intelligence in the oil and gas industry. The summit advocated for a strategy for generative artificial intelligence, AI, built around people to create sustainable solutions that improve every element in the energy supply chain, enhance the quality of life, and meet society's evolving needs. The summit explained the strategies for AI-driven era to include job automation, collaboration, in-house training, and talent development. The summit listed challenges in AI implementation to include competing priorities, resistance to change, high cost of training programs, and gaps in infrastructure and technology. The summit stated that such strategies should transform petroleum product transportation, ensure reliable and affordable energy, delivery industrial solutions, and materials for modern life while eliminating risk to people. To be able to prepare for an AI era, the summit adopted the following. The employee skill gap must be closed. Upskilling, reskilling are necessary to prepare employees for this era. The training strategy should include virtual and hands-on training that is offered in-country and outside the country. AI application and deployment should be deepened in curbing crude oil theft and in ensuring energy security as applies to petroleum product supply chain distribution. AI application should be used in tracking and monitoring trucks that are used in supplying petroleum products to retail outlets. This will help in curbing cross-border smuggling that has strengthened Nigeria's energy security. Number 7, strategic collaboration. The summit called on stakeholders, including PENGASSAN and the sister unions in the industry, to work together to strengthen regulatory framework and enforcement to tackle all forms of challenges confronting the industry. The summit further stated that all these efforts cannot be driven by the government alone, but require concerted drive of all stakeholders through the development of innovative solutions, sharing of information, and supporting enforcement of laws designed to protect our resources. Number 8, announcement of 2025 PELS. The 4th edition of the PENGASSAN Energy and Labour Summit will be held from 20th to the 22nd of August 2025. It promises to be another opening of new frontiers in awareness, policy shaping, education, problem solving, and collaboration. We will go all out to play our roles as key players in the industry. Our expectation is that all stakeholders will roll up their sleeves and put into quick use the practical recommendations rolled out above as we all collaborate to ensure the sustainability in our industry. Indeed, oil and gas industry is currently the soul of the Nigeria economy.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to follow TUC Half Hour on social media using the handles on your screen. We look forward to continuing this important conversation in our next episode. Thank you again. I'm Festus Osifo. Until next week. Bye-bye.